So Cornell, I wanted to talk to you about this last week. This young 10-year-old, very intelligent-looking young lady, a black young lady at a Pearland school who will not stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in her classroom. She doesn't want to stand up because apparently she believes that black Americans need a lot more to be done in this country. She is not willing to support the black Americans that have fought and died for this country. You know what I believe, Cornell? And I know you supported her publicly, but you know what I think? I think at 10 years old, she has no real understanding of what America is. So I wonder if her parents have sat her down and explained what Americans have given their lives, white, black, red. It doesn't make any difference. They stood and they fought and they died for this country, and she doesn't want to do anything to honor them?
Matt, she comes from a family of military service members. Her father is a retired military service member also who served this nation well with great dignity. She also has additional family members who was in the armed forces.
Good.
Her mother's a very intelligent woman who has had long conversations as well as her father about her not standing for the flag. What white people need to understand
Just white people?
Yes, please, let me explain. What white people need to understand is that that national anthem was written by Francis Scott Key, a slave owner who demonized and hated black slaves and black people. And that unwritten third, that unheard of and unspoken third verse, go research the third verse where he says, "There's no refuge in this country for the hireling or the slave, both should be turmoil to the grave."
How's her parents doing?
This is a man
Are they successful?
that promised turmoil for black people to the grave. Would you ask
her
Jewish children to say a pledge to a German anthem that disrespects Jewish people?
If they're
No, you
living
would
in
not.
Germany,
No,
sure.
you would not.
Well, sure.
That disrespects Jewish people?
Then
No,
why,
you would not.
You certainly can kneel down. In America, you have the right to do that. But what will happen to her, how her friends will respond, how the school will view her, how Americans will view her is very negative. And this is not what you want for your 10-year-old child.
And let me say to that young girl and others like that young girl, America looked at the same way at Rosa Parks when she refused to get up and give up her seat to a white man on the bus. But history vindicated her. History vindicated her. America demonized Harriet Tubman for freeing slaves from slavery, but history vindicated her. So I say to that young girl, you stand strong, stand up, and stand for what you believe in. And to all of those who are too coward to do it, don't get in that young girl's way. Others like her, support that young girl.
What would you like her to say to the men and women who have fought for this country like I ran into over the weekend? The black men and women who fought for this country and some who gave their lives.
And ask the black men and women who served America in its military, like in the Independence War. We helped America get it, and we were still slaves afterwards. Ask those in Vietnam who gave their war on Vietnam battlefields, but then came back and was called niggers in their own country. We have fought in America's war, and we've never been given the justice and the due process of everybody else in this nation.
Then why don't you move to a different country? Why are you staying here if you don't like it?
Let me tell you why. Because the country belongs to Indians. You white folks stole it from them, raped and robbed their people. This is not your country. You all came over here and stole it and beat the hell out of them. So this is not your country.
It was my country.
You all need to go home.
If you're
you
not
all need to go back where you came from.
If you don't like it, why don't you pack up and go?
Let the Indians decide who should pack up and go. And I guarantee you black folks will stay, and you all will be on the first damn boat leaving here. So don't try that, brother. You all didn't make America. This is not your country.
What you should do is sit down with someone who has fought for this country, Cornell. Get their opinion. Too.
Tons of black people have, and what have we gotten from it?
It's funny how that conversation ended, how that debate ended, because white people like, yelling and saying all these things about black people and chasing black people from their country when they know that they are also very, very illegal in the country they are in right now. But they're so quick to tell you, why, if you're not happy with this country, why don't you go? Why don't you move out of this country? Why don't you move out of that country? Why don't you? It's not your country. Why do you feel like you have the right to tell other people to move out of a stolen country, a country that you stole? Also, that journalist needs to cough because he was talking a little bit like, ugh. He needs to cough too. And some of the things that you'll come to realize in obviously this next part of this video in where Cornell is actually talking to these reporters is at the very end of these conversations, they are all left in silence. The videos just end in silence because they don't have anything to retaliate by. And a big quote that I like to say is, you cannot hide three things: the sun, the moon, and the truth. Those are the three things you can't hide. And no matter how much you yell, just so that you can be seen that you're making a point, as long as you're not in the right side of history, as long as you're not saying actual facts, and as long as you're not acting as a humane person, you're never going to win. And that's why so many black people, and we advocate for so many black people to have facts, because anything that can silence a white man is facts. Having facts by your fingertips. You don't even need to yell them, just tell them, okay, whatever you're saying, okay, fine, I heard you. Because what you'll come to see is Cornell is very quiet, he listens first and then he answers, which is very opposite to what the journalists, the white journalists do. They either interrupt, and then when he also talks over them, they're like, why are you coming in between what I'm saying? You need to keep quiet, pointing at him, because there's no respect. And it's very easy to speak over issues that don't quite affect you. You don't have a good argument, so you resort back to racism, and you resort back to, I am more superior, so I can yell louder than you, I can point at you, and I can be rude to you and talk about you getting out of this country. You resort back to racism, the default thing that you've been taught since you were a kid. But I'm so glad that I get to cover this topic, because Cornell is an amazing, amazing person. If you do not know him, you can go research about him. And what I've learned from these videos that you're about to see is how amazing it is and how empowering it is to have black people who wait, listen, talk, and actually silence these white people. Actually silencing them. Before I give my full commentary, let's dive and listen to what else he has to say, and then we'll come back and talk about it. See you shortly.
The Donald Trump presidency, we will finally evict all of these illegal aliens that are coming here and stealing jobs from Americans. If you break into my house, should I just accept you because you washed my dishes and made my beds? I say no. I say you need to go back and come back in the right way.
So is that what the Indians should have told white Americans? The original illegal alien or European white folk in America?
Agreed.
And so should the Indians stand up today and say deport all white folks back to Europe?
Well, should we learn something from their mistake? Because we are here now.
Or should you learn something from their compassion to give other people an opportunity like was given to you and your ancestors? Learn from their compassion. That's what you should learn from.
I say learn from their mistakes.
Letting in the white man was the worst mistake that the Indians ever could have made. I agree with you. That was one of the greatest mistakes. Even right there in South Africa, they got a similar problem.
So the bill has hit Governor Abbott's desk and has been signed by Governor Abbott. Basically, the anti-sanctuary city bill has been passed and is now law. And what that bill says is that if local law enforcement or state police view a criminal activity afoot, they make a stop on that state crime, and then they can inquire into the status of an individual's residence. Are they a lawful U.S. citizen? Are they here with a green card? Are they a permanent resident alien? Or are they here illegally without documentation? And if they are here illegally without that documentation, then the feds can get involved and then they can take it from there. I think this is a fantastic law. It is time to start enforcing the laws that are on the books instead of the state and local officials legislating from their own little tiny offices.
It's an awful law because it's nothing more than a legal way for law enforcement to racially profile Mexicans and Hispanics. This law was written into existence by Governor Abbott to specifically go after a said group of demographics here in the state of Texas. Secondly, it is awful that we want to call them illegal immigrants to the point to where if a cop does not do his job according to this law, he can be charged and arrested, and the cities can be given a $25,000 fine per day. Well, we'll put a cop in jail for not asking about his immigrant status, but we won't put cops in jail for shooting and killing unarmed black people.
That's not true. And
Thirdly,
that's way too far of a step. Murder is against the law, Cornell.
Yeah, but it's not against the law when you kill black people and you're a cop. See, the problem in America and this state
What about the Dallas case where that cop was just charged with murder?
Because there was video to show he was absolutely lying.
So you can't make these broad statements.
No,
it's just
because
simply not true.
often there's video, ma'am, where we are killed by cops and nobody ever goes to jail. Ask Eric Garner's family that. Ask the family right there in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Brother Alton Sterling's family.
But your
they're not getting justice. So video don't mean nothing for us. But let's get back to the immigrants. I would say to the Hispanic and Mexican community, what you got to do now, hook up with the black community and unite in political power, because if Mexicans and black people unite in Texas, we can control the governor, we can control the lieutenant governor, and we can control politics in Texas, period. I'm saying to the Latino brothers and sisters, don't fight them by yourself. If you hook up with black people and we unite, I'm telling you, we can run Texas and then pass laws to deal with those who hate us.
You're advocating for criminal activity, Cornell. These people are not here lawfully. They need to do what our ancestors did, what many Mexicans have done.
No, wait a minute.
Don't interrupt me.
Your ancestors came here illegally. Wasn't nothing legal about your ancestors.
Listen.
They came illegally and they murdered, they raped, they pillaged a whole race of people. This country, Texas, Arizona, and California, belonged to the Mexicans.
Quanell, get back
it was
to the
stole
point.
from them.
You
so
tell
when
me
you
to
quote
get back
your
to the point.
ancestors, they came
No,
here
no,
illegally.
you're not being fair to me here. You say stay on topic. I say, okay, we'll stay on topic. And then as soon as we start talking about illegal immigration,
ancestors.
you go back to the black issue. Let's stay on topic.
Your ancestors are the master illegal immigrants.
Give me the opportunity to respond in that, you know what, we're all Americans here. And if you are here legally, absolutely, then we need to come together and we need to pass good laws for enforcing the laws.
Well, perhaps the Native Americans should have passed laws against your ancestors. You know, many in this nation are asking, what should Black Lives Matter do? And in which direction should they go? The shooter in Dallas, Michael Johnson, is reported that he was angry with Black Lives Matter. And I understand why he probably felt that way. Because he was of a real radical extreme mindset. And he's wondering why they are not at that same mindset that he
You're
is.
not giving this
and
guy,
really should not be.
You're not forgiving this guy, are you?
That's not what I'm doing. But also what I am doing, I understand the conditions in America that produced a mindset like that. Injustice on a consistent basis breeds insanity. And that's what's happening in America with black people.
You know what's happening? You know what's happening, Quanell? There are black and white people that would like nothing more than for us to stay fighting because they somehow achieve a bit more money or a bit more prosperity or a level that they like. But they've got to make sure that white people and black people or any race are fighting each other and they're all jazzed up over something. Those people succeed. And that ain't me, and I certainly hope it isn't you either, Quanell, although I'm not so sure.
This nation, Matt, is at a crossroads. If we want to prevent another Michael Johnson, and I sit here with you for 6 years, and I warned you right from this seat that a Michael Johnson would be produced in America if injustice and police killings were not held accountable, these cops. And I'm warning you right now, brother. I'm telling you, you can take it or let it alone, and you don't have to listen, and this audience doesn't have to listen. But if they don't change, the next move, terrorist organizations from outside of America are going to try to connect with black people who are angry, disgruntled, and frustrated, and use them as an inside sale to strike America. That's what's coming.
His first stop was to an organization like yours, and, you know, the new Black Panthers. He thought maybe that would be the place to go. Can you imagine that in this guy's mind, he looked at you as someone who could use to go after people like me?
I put the brother out.
I know you did.
Because I had no choice but to do so for the safety and security of the other members because of the brother's rhetoric. But at the end of the day, I understand what has produced that kind of mindset in many young black men. Don't you dare think.
That's a dangerous thing for you to say, Quanell.
Don't you dare think that Michael Johnson was the only one thinking like that in America. He is not. There are other black people in America across this country who think just like that,
let me tell you something, Quanell. There's all different races and breeds of people that unfortunately are thinking that way because there's a fire lit under them by individuals that are smiling from ear to ear, hoping something like that does happen. I'll tell you who wants to see it. It's Hillary Clinton.
Man, ask yourself the question. If black cops were in white neighborhoods executing young white boys like they do black men, and they were never held accountable, what would you white people do?
Let me tell you something.
You would go to war. You would go to war.
44% more police officers just now in 2016 have been killed trying to do their job than all of last year.
But Matt, we have been fighting police brutality really publicly since the 50s.
You don't shoot him. You don't shoot him, Quanell.
Nothing's changed.
You don't shoot him.
I agree with that. And they should not be killed or targeted. But Matt, that 1% that they say is bad among them, that 99% better get off their ass and tell the truth and get rid of the 1% that's doing these things.
Well, you do the same thing.
Matt, we have been trying. Let me tell you something. If these racists on these police departments don't get off their ass and deal with the bad element, I'm telling you, there's going to be more Dallases in America.
Then you and I get together and we'll stand up and we'll help them get them off their ass. Let's do that.
I have no problem with that. But the chief and district attorneys got to be held accountable to hold everybody to the same standard when they commit a crime, cops and citizens.
When you hold the mirror up to the oppressors, they suddenly hit their reflection. When Quanell told these journalists that when you're telling us to go back to our country, why don't you get out of other people's countries? Silence. just silence. They have nothing else to say. When Cornell tells them that this country has done nothing to make sure, or has not done enough to make sure that black people feel at home, even after the many sacrifices that black people have put into this country. And these white journalists go back to their default of being racist. And Cornell asks a question. He says, the white journalist says, then you should talk to powerful people who have actually served this country, and listen to what they have to say. And Cornell is like, yeah, we have. And what has that helped us with? We are still in the same position. We're still talking about the same things. Silence. When the lady talks about how black people should do the way their ancestors did, their white ancestors did, and not commit crimes, Cornell says, but you invaded a country that was not yours, burned, killed, massacred the people who are living here, and took it by force. Do you consider that? Do you not consider that criminal activity? Silence. And I loved seeing this. I loved watching these videos. I loved even compiling them. And actually, it's just an enjoyment. It's just a nice thing to enjoy when white people are silenced by facts, because so many things of these people, what I've noticed with white people is they don't really know how to retaliate back with actual facts, because they don't really know much except that they are white and they are superior. That's the only thing white people know. They will literally come with what is at the face value, Oh, we're talking about this black kid who said that she does not respect the flag. What do you think about that? Then when Cornell goes back to history, talking about the history of America and history of black people and their slaves and all that they have gone through, they're like, oh, so you're making it about race again. Why are you making it about race? Because it is about race. You as white people made sure that anything that we talk about as black people and even as white people, or when white people speak, is about race. They're the ones who made a whole system to make sure that a certain race is not favored by that system. They're the ones who made sure that a certain race has a very nice time with whatever system they put in place. They enjoy everything. Everything is given to them. They have a huge privilege over every other people. They are the ones who made sure that they took a specific people, made them their slaves. They didn't take their white people, made them slaves. No, they took black people to make them their slaves. They're the ones who are continuously speaking over other people as black folks or Hispanics or Latinas. Why? Why don't you just say that all these people are Americans? Why do you have to start making sure that you separate these people? All these people are Americans. Why do you have to say Asian American, Black American, Hispanic American? Why? You're the ones who are making these things up. And then when black people talk about it, it's a problem. Because you like putting the mirror over others, but you don't like looking at your reflection. Because when you're given that mirror, you're not going to like what you see. Because your history is damaging, it's disgusting, and it's even hard to live with, especially as a white people. And white people, that's why they are constantly angry, and constantly yelling when they are confronted with facts. You tell a white person that you're being kind of racist, or that statement that you said was kind of racist. Go back to default, start yelling. Why would you say that? I have black friends. I have a black... Like, instead of looking within themselves and being like, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't know, and actually learn about it. They never do that. And meaning, you see, these silences at the end of all these discussions mean that white people do not have something to retaliate because they have been hit with the truth. Once you're hit with the truth, you kind of like, and especially if you are going against what this person was saying, you go back. You're like, oh shit, okay, oh sorry, I don't know what to react to that. And that will mean that white people actually know what black people go through. White people know exactly what black people go through. And Cornell asked the reporter, what if black people were the police officers and they were raiding over white communities and they were doing what white cops are doing to black people? Then what would you do then? Because every time black people talk about these things, they are considered like alien things. Like, what are you talking about? Like, obviously the cop had to do his job, or he can't murder someone unless it was for his safety. And what do you expect these police officers to do? That is their job. But yet when it's a white police officer doing that to a white civilian, it's a problem. So what happens if a black police officer does what white officers do to black people? What if a black officer racially looks at a person as the way white officers look at black people? What happens then? What if black police officers start killing and murdering and profiling white people and making sure they have a hard time living in America? What happens then? He knows that there will be an all-out war, because we know that white people love protesting, actually rioting. They love rioting. If the team they support does not win, they riot. If a team they support actually does win, they riot. And by rioting, they burn stuff and steal stuff and loot. They do crazy things. If a bill passes and they don't like it, they riot. If a bill passes and they like it, they riot. It's like there's no winning. They love rioting. And you see that white people are very quick to say, why don't you talk about these things with people in power? And we together, if we join hands, we can make this country work. And yet, when a black person is killed by the police officers, and black people actually unite and say that we need to protest and actually go to the streets and ask for justice for that person who was killed by a police officer unlawfully, white people are nowhere to be found. But behind the scenes, actually in front of the screens, they're all like, we shall join hands, we shall come together, march together and make sure that this country is what we want it to be. And yet when we go to the ground where we actually need those people's help, they're nowhere to be found. And something that Cornell talks about, which I will kind of not agree with, is when he says that Hispanics should join up with black people. I think from what we have seen, with what Hispanics and Latinas have done by voting for Trump, black people said, you know what, bye, goodbye. You go to that side, you deal with your own, you're the ones, we warned you, we told you what he was going to do, what Trump was going to do to you, and you still did what you did. So goodbye, you asked the white people and Trump to fight for you, because as black people, they told you, they warned you, and they have consistently fought for you. Because these videos are from 8 years ago of Cornell. They're from 8 years ago. Meaning, black people have always wanted to join arms with minorities because there is more power in community. And this is something that I guess Latinas and Hispanics didn't think is something that they want to do. They did not want to put themselves with black people because they were having a better time than black people. You see, Latinas aren't racially profiled as black people. They don't really go through what black people go through in America. So it's very difficult for them to understand exactly what black people go through, the same way black people cannot understand what Latinas go through and Hispanics and all that. But black people have continuously asked you to join hands and come together with them and fight for a better tomorrow, and yet in front of their faces you're like, yeah, we should do that. Then you went behind their backs and you chose for someone you knew was going to hurt those same black people. You thought that he was going to actually be kinder to you than he would be to black people, and then you chose him. Now you see what he's doing? Is it bad to say that you deserve it? Is it? I'm just a question, I'm just asking. And Cornell also talks about how black people have gone to wars, how black people sign into the military and fight for their country, and still when they come back, they're considered as Negroes. They are considered as less off. No matter how much they have given their lives, they have given their families, they have given their blood, sweat, and tears to that country to show that they actually deserve to be treated in a certain way. And yet when people continuously don't take them seriously or continuously ignore what black people are actually talking about, and until white people actually realize that there is a problem inside of them, they're never going to have peace. They're never going to have a prevailing future. Because if you are continuously fighting against people who have not done anything to you as a person, you just hate them because that's what you've been taught by history. You have literally been accepted to be conditioned by your country to hate a certain people just because. There's no reason, just because. Then you're never gonna have peace. And until you realize that whatever you have been conditioned to do is not how you're supposed to live your life, and then actually fighting for the people who are actually just trying to survive and trying to live in a country where everything is fair. They're not even asking for more, they're not asking for special treatment, they're just asking for fairness. The way you live is how they want to live. That is not a lot to ask for from a people. They don't want to be on top of you. They want to be where you are and enjoy these things that you're enjoying, And it's not hard to give that to people, especially people who have shown continuously that they don't really care to fight or go to war with you people. They just want to live with you and coexist well, without having any fights and racial prejudice and all that. Anyway, I hope if you're a white person who has watched this video up to the end, I hope you've learned something. I hope this has motivated you to change from what you have been taught to, to become a different person and free yourself from the burdens that you're being forced to carry by your parents, your grandparents, and your ancestors. Because you'll never have peace if you continuously carry those burdens, then dump them to your kids, and your kids dump them to their kids. Your generations will always suffer. So learn from that. And for Black people, I hope this has motivated you also to continue fighting and continue talking and speaking against things that don't work with you and you don't like. And if you've liked this video, kindly consider sharing, subscribing, and liking. Share so that we can continue to grow and to learn together. And comment what do you think about this particular topic. I'd like to interact with you in the comments below. If you'd like to support me in another way, I do have a Buy Me a Coffee down in the description below. I would truly, truly, truly appreciate it. And I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.